Ever since Grapevine real estate developer Carey Eugene Lavender disappeared last November and a fisherman found his body in the Trinity River in April, officials from Grapevine, Denton County, and Oklahoma have been trying to piece together enough evidence to arrest one of Lavender's business associates who's considered a prime suspect. Grapevine Police Chief James Lilly said that the investigation had just run cold until today, when Oklahoma detectives hired by the Lavender family brought in new evidence that could amount to enough circumstantial evidence to issue an arrest warrant. So, week after next, Chief Lilly is calling all county and state officials who are connected with the Lavender case, including federal advisors.
It's just a meeting between the area law enforcement officers in the United Research Company of Oklahoma City to compile all of our evidence together and to see if we've got enough circumstantial evidence for a warrant rather to be issued, or maybe we've overlooked something. We're just going to put all of our information into one big pile and go through it and see if we can come up with something.
In the meantime, Chief Lilly is reviewing the entire Lavender murder case, again interviewing close friends and associates. Martha McIntire, Channel 8 News on the Move at the Grapevine Police Department.
Both the House and the Senate have now passed the no-news taxes version of the 1972-73 appropriations bill, totaling $4.1 billion. Both houses are now waiting only to clean up some committee reports. This special session took longer than some members said it would, and not as long as other members said. It also leaves some business for the 63rd Legislature, which starts next January. One man, at least, is unhappy with what happened this session. Senator Oscar Mauzy of Dallas says reform rules passed in the Senate aren't reform enough.
I'm not totally familiar with the House rules, but the Senate rules that we passed yesterday go a long way toward removing some of the problems. We've reduced the number of committees from 27 to 9. We've provided that each member of the Senate will serve on 3 committees. We require that a majority of the committee vote for a bill before it can be reported out, rather than less than a majority. All of these things are good, and they go a long way toward solving the problems. I think we probably achieved 70% of the reform that's needed. It's the other 30% that I'm going to continue to fight for. Even though I lost yesterday on these amendments, I'm going to be back in January, and I hope by then I'll be successful.
It might be interesting that of the hundreds, and I say that in all sincerity, of letters that I've received from the publicity of my position on revenue sharing, I have yet to have a letter or a message from an individual supporting the revenue sharing proposal. The only supporters of that proposal that I have had have been from elected officials.
Well, I think there's several things that will be a pleasure, I believe. I think it'll be a pleasure to see guys have achieved something start to work again. There's a great deal of satisfaction in having accomplished something, and it reflects in your work. The other thing is to see rookies develop, and see rookies who sometimes you don't anticipate they're going to be good enough, and all of a sudden they become good enough. And these things are rewarding, you know, from a coaching standpoint.
According to Mr. Schramm, he has talked with Dwayne Thomas, but yet nothing has been solved. Do you anticipate any problems at all, contractual-wise or playing-wise, from Dwayne this year?
Well, let's say that when you're dealing with Dwayne, you anticipate a lot of things. He's very unpredictable. We have been in very good communications with him during the off season. We've had him in to talk about contracts several times. He just didn't feel the time was right. He'll talk to us again out in camp about it.
I felt the one or two basic things it brought out was that it cuts out a lot of the slow build-up in midfield. The ball tends to get down the other end far quicker. And also you get a lot more man-to-man marking rather than a sort of man-in-the-zone marking defensively. So you get one-on-one confrontations, which can be exciting, you know.
And yet you look around the league and the scores were 0-0, 1-0, 2-0.
Yes.
It did not increase the scoring as it ostensibly was set out to do.
Right. I wouldn't like to condemn it on one game, though, or the first game. I think this type of thing takes a little bit of adaptation, and people are going to experiment, try various things, and when they come up with the right solution, I think it must improve scoring. It really must do. Whether, you know, will it affect the overall game or not to a great degree, I don't know, but I think it must create more scoring opportunities.
As a defensively oriented soccer player, do you like the rule?
I think it takes a big weapon away from the defense, of course. And I said, why take the brains out of it and just give it to runners, you know?
You're hedging, John.
Yes, I am. No, I think the overall effect is it's there for the spectators. It's there to increase scoring, increase exciting plays around the goal. That doesn't help me, but it can't be bad for the game, you know.
The Wilmer-Hutchins Independent School District has 6,000 students. It covers 64 square miles and part or all of 4 cities, Wilmer, Hutchins, Lancaster, and Dallas. But it has more problems than you can whip with a bundle of sticks. Superintendent Jim Fendley talked to Channel 8 News about the FHA 235 programs that are being allowed in the Wilmer-Hutchins Independent School District, but which lie within the city limits of the city of Dallas. He talks about the low tax rate, but the high population impact of these homes.
As you can see, we're already in a drastic condition. We finished the school year with more students than we could actually house. Driving over the district for the past 2 days, I see nothing but big building projects going on. How many students I can expect for the beginning of school, I have no idea. But we're in a drastic condition right now as to what the future holds. We just have to wait and see.
Mr. Findley points out that most of this land within the city limits of the city of Dallas, but within the Wilmer-Hutchins Independent School District, is zoned R5, meaning the lots can be as small as 50 by 100. This is the only part of the city of Dallas that is so zoned. We talked to James Schroeder, who is the director of the City Planning Commission, about that zoning, which was granted in March of this year at the request of a builder. We asked if any consideration to schools was given at that time.
This was an area that, let's say 10 years ago, was thought of as an area that would satisfy the need for small lots, perhaps lower income type housing. And that was when the basic zoning was put on the property. I don't think that there has been any particular thought given to the school problem, to tell you the truth.
The city zoned the land, but the school district said, we cannot afford these children. We don't have a place to educate them. The builders reportedly offered land sites for new buildings. They offered portable buildings as a temporary stopgap measure, but the school board of Wilmer-Hutchins reportedly did not answer that offer. Thus, they went ahead with their building, and they say their conscience is clear. Frank Aaron of U.S. Realty.
Well, of course, I was not aware of this when we started, and I think probably that Wilmer-Hutchins School Board should have notified prior to ever starting. They're as well aware of any subdivision that's going on or any building that's going on as anyone else. I certainly didn't know that we were overcrowding the area originally when we bought the land or when we started on this.
Without the loan guarantees of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, these houses would not be here. There was a brief moratorium on building last fall when the owners offered the land and the portable buildings. But when there was no response forthcoming from the school board, HUD in effect said, well, to heck with them. If they don't have the courtesy to answer, go ahead and build. Thus we went to the regional director for HUD, Manuel Sanchez, and we asked his answer to this problem.
We need somebody to say we need to solve the problem and to bring all the forces together. Now, we're a piece of it. The builders are another piece of it. HEW is another piece. The school system is another piece. The city of Dallas is another piece. And there might still be other pieces that we haven't uncovered. But I think that if all these groups are brought together to discuss the problem and find out what alternatives are available, what can be done, that some reasonable solution can be worked out.
There are 3 avenues for the Wilmer-Hutchins Independent School District. One, they must get massive financial aid from some quarter, whether it be the government or the city of Dallas. Two, they can consolidate with another school district. This might conceivably solve their problems. Or three, they can continue on the path they are now on. And most will agree that path leads to financial oblivion. In the Wilmer-Hutchins Independent School District, this is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
I don't enjoy it one bit, no. For one thing, when you're doing your turns, when you're walking down the ramp and you're doing your turns, it's easy to see if you stumble, you know, if your legs are shaking, whereas in evening gown you can hide it. And that's one of the things I don't like about it.
Today's schedule ends the hopes of many legislators that they might be home early this evening. Even so, there's a lot still undone here in Austin. It's been left up to the 63rd legislature, for instance, to solve the problem of school financing that was dumped in the legislature's lap by a 3-judge federal panel. There are many committees at work on the problem right now, but it looks as though nothing will actually be done until January. Senator Mike McCool, of course, lost in his bid to get more money for mental health and mental retardation. He did, however, get a lot of publicity for that cause. Other legislators had pet projects they were waiting in the wings with in case Governor Smith opened the session to something besides appropriations. Those other things included a proposal that would have gotten around the Supreme Court's ban on the death penalty. Well, the Dallas Cowboys fans used to say, wait until next year. On the other hand, the Cowboys are now world's champions. Somehow it seems unlikely that this Austin team will even make the Super Bowl. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move, in the Capitol Building in Austin.
The reason for the worry stems from this room in the Fairmont Hotel, where more than 100 telephones must be installed by 9 o'clock tomorrow night. The only problem, installation of the telephones can't begin yet because the room is being used by a group of chiropractors who are meeting in the hotel, and they'll be using this room until noon tomorrow, which means the telephone companies will have just a few hours in which to install all those telephones. But if the telephones can be installed on time, Democratic officials say there are countless people out there who've been waiting for such an opportunity to make a political contribution. But as it stands right now in the Dallas area, that opportunity depends on whether or not the telephones can be installed on time. Incidentally, the people attending the chiropractors meeting who have been using this room this afternoon have been discussing how to properly use the telephone. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
A method has been worked out in an effort to locate some of these older persons. And this is going to be started through the inclusion in the envelopes for that contain the Social Security checks in August of a leaflet providing an elementary explanation of the program. If people still do not understand it, they'll have the opportunity of filling out a card, and as a result of filling out that card, they will be contacted by trained volunteers throughout the nation, and these volunteers will endeavor to explain the program further and will endeavor to build a bridge between them and the resources.
To say the least, Vern, yes. I think it's a problem which we've had at some period during just about every season since I've been in Dallas. And I think this is one reason why we needn't be overly concerned, you know. This problem of not being able to score goals, I think it creates other problems within the team. Everybody gets uptight, stops playing their normal game, and eventually we always work our way out of it. And Ron Newman and I have thought for a long time that I think Dallas always plays its best games when it has its back to the wall. Now, we didn't engineer this, but being in that situation now, I think that we're still confident we're going to make the playoffs.
You know, you sound like you're emulating a Cowboy team in the last couple of years.
That's right. Well, if we can emulate their end result, that's fine as well.
John, is it the problem of having just one guy who can finish off these plays? Would one scorer help?
We seem to find that any one player can do it. It's just a question of somebody getting hot at the right moment, you know. And over the years, our goals have been spread out amongst a number of players, but we've hit a stage where everybody is having trouble putting the ball in the net. And once one starts, we normally find then that other boys pick it up, and the whole team improves because of it.
Well, it seems to be that way, but when Phyllis came here 3 years ago, she won both preliminaries and she was second runner-up, and the girl that won Miss Texas didn't win any preliminaries, so it shows that not necessarily that you'll have an edge over other girls.
This real grandfather